How cute and fun are these hats? Let me tell you, they're easy to make, they're fun to make, and I love that classic Granny Stitch while throwing in a little bit of color work. So to make a hat today, I'm going to be showing you how to make the adult size, but I have sizes in the ad-free PDF that range from newborn all the way to adult large. So we're making the size in between the teen, like small adult, sometimes child. My kids have really big heads, so they are already in this size, but I'm going to make the size between these two and these colors today with Color Theory 2 of Wands from Lion Brand. This is the color Tourmaline, and then this is the color Moonbeam. I've used Moonbeam on each of these, and then I've used an alternate color all within that same yarn line. I love how they pair well together. You can make hats for the entire family. This is such a great yarn for this pattern. Plus, where it's acrylic, it's washable. If you want to place a pom-pom on top of your hat, I love the really large pom-poms. Just be sure when you receive them, if you order them in the mail, that you take a hair blow dryer and you just fluff them out. They look so much better. And then you'll need 2 crochet hooks. We'll need the size G 4mm for the brim and the H for the rest of the body of the hat. Scissors to cut those ends, a yarn needle to weave them in. Optional if you love tags. I love the tags I found on Etsy that are the Brianna K logo with the rivets. Those are so fun. A tape measure is never a bad idea to check your gauge, check sizing as you go, and then a stitch marker as well. So let's go ahead and jump right in and make a really fun Granny Stitch Colorwork hat. Now to get started with this hat pattern, it is worked from bottom up. So we will be making the brim first. So you'll take your slip knot, place it onto your 4mm hook, because that's what we're going to be using for the brim. And then for this size, this is the adult size, not the adult large, just the adult size. We are going to chain 23. Now you will chain a different amount depending on the size that you are making. After chaining 23, you are going to start in the second chain from the hook, and we are going to work in that back hump. And we're going to single crochet, and you can place a stitch marker in that stitch if you need to. And then we are going to single crochet across the remaining stitches in this row. So we will have a total of 22 stitches for the brim ribbing for this size. Now once you worked all the way across your chains, we are going to turn our work, and then row 2, this will be our repeat row for every single row for the ribbing. We're going to start by chaining 1, and then we are going to single crochet in the back loop only for all the stitches across. However, if you like clean edges, for the first and the last stitch of the row, you can single crochet through both loops and then go ahead and single crochet in the back loop only for all of the other stitches between. Now the stitch count will not change. It will stay at 22 stitches for this size, and you're just going to keep repeating row 2, so this row, until we have the length that we need depending on the hat size that we are making. And then once you get done with row 2, keep on going. For this size, we're going to create a total of 72 rows of ribbing. Now once you have your 72 rows, we are going to join our current row with the first row worked. So we're just going to match those up and bring them together. And then we can chain 1, and working in the back loop only of your current row and the back loop only of the first row that we worked, we're going to slip stitch those stitches together. And that's what we're going to do for each stitch across until we have joined this. So just working in the back loops and slip stitching together of those 2 ends. Now once we have joined these 2 edges together by working all the way across, we now have created a tube, and this is the bottom part of our hat, and we're going to start working in the round. We also can go ahead and remove the 4mm hook. We are done with it for this pattern, and we can grab our 5mm hook. Now our next steps are to set up to work the rest of the hat in the round. And to do so, we are going to be slip stitching around this edge, placing 1 slip stitch per row as we go. So I'm going to chain 1, and this is especially where I do find that stitch markers are great. That way when we work our way back around, we know when we get to that first stitch of the round. So I'm going to mark that. And now we're simply going to slip stitch 1 stitch per row, not making it too tight because we don't want this to interfere with the stretch of our hat. But this will be 72 slip stitches, 1 per row, all the way around. Now after slip stitching all the way around, we're going to move our stitch marker and we are going to join to that very first slip stitch of the round. And then we are going to turn our work. This round will be worked with the wrong side of the fabric facing us. Now we are going to insert our hook into the very first stitch of this round. That is not the slip stitch to join, that is the very first stitch. And we're going to start with a stacked single crochet, which is to yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2, insert our hook back to that left bar, yarn over and pull up a loop, and yarn over and pull through 2. If you would prefer to do a chain 2, that's totally fine, but I love the look of the stacked single crochets. Now we're going to do 2 more double crochets into that same stitch. Then we are going to skip 2 stitches and 3 double crochet into the next. Now you kind of have to rotate your work towards you to see those stitches, because since we're working on the wrong side, they're hiding a little bit from us. So you may just need to take note of that to rotate and really make sure you're placing your stitches in the right spot. Now we're going to skip 2 stitches and double crochet 3 and skip 2. So that's going to be our repeat around. It's to double crochet 3 stitches and then skip 2 stitches, double crochet 3 and skip 2. We're going to work that all the way around. Now as we work our last group of 3 double crochets, we are going to be changing colors. We're going to introduce a color B, and we're going to stop on our 3rd double crochet before doing that very last yarn over, because it makes changing colors really easy if we introduce our next color as the yarn over and pull through. That way we're already set up to work with our new color. Then we are going to slip stitch to join to the first stitch of the round, and then we are going to turn our work. Now for this round, for round 2 of this hat, we are going to once again we're going to start in this very first space with a stacked single crochet. And then we'll do 2 more double crochets into that same space. And then we are going to change colors on that very last stitch, and we're going to keep our yarn on the back side of our work whenever we are working color work. We can tuck in our tail ends till later, and now we're going to go back to the color A, pull that through, and we're ready to work color A into the next space where we will double crochet 3. And then we are going to change colors again. So we're going to bring up our color B, yarn over and pull through, and notice I'm carrying that on the back of my work. We're going to float it on the back, but we're not going to pull that too tight. We don't want it to change the drape or the stretch of the hat, so you want to keep it somewhat loose. And on the next round, I'll show you how we even tighten those up a little bit. So now I will do 3 double crochets into the next stitch. And then we're going to go back to our color A, gently carrying that color on the back of our work. And that's our repeat for this all the way around. We're just going to be repeating between the color B and the color A, floating the carries on the back of our work all the way around. Now wrapping up for round 2, we are going to switch to our color B at the end of this round as well, and slip stitch to join. Now we are going to rotate our work, and we're only going to be working the color B for this round, and we're working it on the wrong side. We're going to start by doing a stacked single crochet, and then 2 more double crochet stitches into that same space. And then we're going to work all the way around doing 3 double crochet stitches into each space. But when we come to a space, there will be, you know, this carried yarn. You always want to work underneath all the strands, and that helps lock it in place a little bit cleaner and opens up that space so that we're not seeing the strands carried through that space on the front side. So once again, make sure we're working under our floats, 3 double crochets into each space all the way around with the color B. Now at the end of round 3, we don't need to change colors. We're simply going to join and turn our work. And then this next round is a repeat of round 2. So we're going to start by working in the first stitch with a stacked single crochet in the first space, sorry, and then 2 double crochets into that same space. And then we are going to change to our color A. We're going to be floating the carried yarn on the back of the work, and we are simply going to repeat round 2 all the way around. And I am sorry if I have been saying rows when I mean rounds. That happens to me sometimes on video. I hope you understand what I mean. We are only working in rounds here. So I'm going to work this all the way around and then come on back for round 5. Now as we come to the end of round 4, we can keep the color the color A, and we can join with a slip stitch, and then we're going to turn our work, and this is on the wrong side, and when we are working the wrong side, we're just working one color. So we can start with that stacked single crochet, 2 double crochets in the same, and then we are simply going to do 3 double crochets with the color A all the way around. And this actually finishes out our 4-row repeat. So rows 2 through 5 that we just did are the 4 round repeat for this hat. And let me show you what that looks like on the other side. So as we look at this other side here, we can see that gorgeous repeat. Once again, rounds 2 through 5 are the repeat for this. And for this size of hat, I am going to work up a total of 15 rounds, repeating that 4-round repeat, and then I'll come back for round 16. So just keep working those repeats depending on what size that you're doing. Now after doing 15 rounds, we're going to work on the last round. Now, no matter what size you're working on, the last round we're going to work it in this way. You just may be on a different pattern color repeat row, but it's going to be worked the same because all we're going to do that is different. We're still going to be working in our pattern repeat, but instead of double crocheting 3 into each space, we are simply going to double crochet 2. This will decrease our stitch count a little bit to make it a little bit easier for us to join the top of the hat with less stitches to work through. So we're going to just work our very last round of any size by working 2 double crochet stitches into every chain space. And I'm going to complete that all the way around, and then I'll show you what we do next. Now after working all the way around, we can slip stitch to join and then fasten off both colors of yarn because we are done, but leave a long tail so that we can not only weave in our end, but for this color you ended with, we're going to be looping it through the top of our hat. Now we're going to take our yarn needle and thread, and we are going to loop through the front loops of every single stitch around. I like to just work through the front loop of this and kind of weave through them, pull my yarn through. We're going to just do that for every stitch all the way around. Now once you go through all the loops, you'll simply pull the tail end to close the top of the hat, and then you are going to loop through some of those again, go around again all the way because I find that helps reinforce it, and then you'll want to go in the opposite direction and really do a good job of weaving in the top of your hat. That way it doesn't ever come undone. Now you'll want to weave in all of your ends, and then your hat is done. Now the things I like to add to my hats a lot of times are pom-poms, and I also have these really cute labels. It's completely up to you how you accessorize it, and it's really fun to do so. But once again, it's fine as just a plain hat as well. How cute is that? I am loving this granny stitch. Now here's a look at all 6 sizes. There's a size for every age. So as your family grows, so can your hat sizes. And then it also gives you lots of options in terms of presents. I've already tried this one on my nephew and it matches the one I made for myself. And I'm so excited to wear that when the weather cools off a bit more with him. It's super exciting. Thank you so much for joining me today to make these wonderful hats. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and come back for more fun projects soon.